What's going on, everyone? Welcome into another live edition of the Patriots Beat Podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time Tickets. It's Brian Hines, back as always with Alex Barth. Lot to talk about on today's show, Barth. And well, first of all, just happy game week to you. Happy game week to everyone tuning in and listening. It is pretty much week one. We are
It's
right
football
around
week.
the corner.
We got
It is
football on this week.
time. A lot of college football we will get to. Bill Belichick's debut last night, which we will get to. We also haven't been on since they released some new jerseys, which I know we were both anticipating, so we'll talk about that. And we also haven't been on here since they made a kind of surprising release last Friday, and that was the release of safety Jabrill Peppers after he made the initial 53-man roster. And Barth, I think the last maybe week or two of camp, it started to look like Craig Woodson, Jalen Hawkins passed him on the depth chart. You know, Jabrill playing in that last preseason game in New York, but still, I would say that came as a surprise there Friday afternoon when they did officially release him.
Yeah, definitely a surprise because he'd been passed on the depth chart. It's hard to say why. And I had thought at the time it was maybe an injury workload management sort of thing. And there hadn't been any clear injury with him. But some of these guys just, something pops up and you never know. Looking back.
He did miss the second practice in Minnesota, which I think was injury related. And I think that's why they held him out of that game. But yeah, he came back like to start the next week. So nothing major
like looking back on it, maybe that should have been more of a tell than it was. But again, he didn't like Kyle Duggar. We saw the drop off. Kyle Duggar did not look like himself. I don't know that I watched Jabrill Peppers at any point this summer and thought he doesn't look like himself. Right. He still looked like a good player. And as we said with Anthony Jennings time and time again, this is not a team that can afford to move on from good players. Mike Vrabel downplayed it being a scheme fit thing. I actually sort of buy that in the sense that I think a player like Peppers is good enough that you can find a role for him. I think what happened, and I'm not the first person to have this take, and this is just a guess, this is not reporting, they couldn't trade Kyle Duggar. They didn't want two true box safeties taking up roster spots. And it was easier financially to cut Jabrill Peppers. And if that's ultimately what it was, that would be disappointing because they're not in a spot where they can walk away from talent. They should have kept the better player, whether that meant getting the deal done for Duggar, ultimately needing some money, or just outright releasing him. But yeah, I don't think that, I don't think it's okay. They were going to make the playoffs and now they cut Kyle Duggar or now they cut Jabrill Peppers and they're not. I like he's not on that level, but he's a good player. They've preached violence on defense all offseason. He plays with tremendous violence. He looked like a leader for the team and everything we saw from Forge and Foxborough and just watching practice. I know some people have likened it to Bill Belichick's release of Lawyer Malloy. Let's hope. And after that cut, remember that team was power ranked 32nd in the league. They went to Buffalo week 1 and got their doors blown off by Drew Bledsoe. So, hopefully it's maybe that kind of spark. Now, I don't know if Craig Woodson is Rodney Harrison, but and I have a Craig Woodson take that we can get to. But yeah, it was surprising, and this is one where let's see it. If their safety play struggles this year, I think a lot of people are rightfully going to point to we had Jabrill Peppers in the building, and you let him go. So as big a surprise and to me as big of a head scratcher as we've seen from this new regime.
Yeah, you mentioned it with the Anthony Jennings part there.
Which I just want to add to that because the timing's part of it. If they done it in March, I still wouldn't have loved it, but you have time to kind of reset and just like with, moving on from Andrews and Cardona and Bentley, like that was clearly part of the direction. Doing it now a week before the season adds some layers to why this is such a head scratching move.
Yeah, and I just keep coming back to, and we talked about it with Duggar, we talked about it with Anthony Jennings. Like, is this team good enough and deep enough to just move on from a player of Jabrill Peppers' caliber, even if he isn't a perfect scheme fit or, he is a little older, he dealt with some injuries in the off-field stuff last year. Like maybe he's not the same player he was, 2-3 years ago, but he's still a good player. Like, can you just cut that guy? So maybe it was, he's taking on a lower role. Maybe he asked for his release. Like we don't know that. Right. That could be a theory if he asked out to go find a bigger role elsewhere. I also, and you mentioned the whole Duggar versus Peppers thing. Like if you're going to bench these guys or, lower their role, is it easier to put Duggar in that spot who, has the bigger contract, harder to move off of, He's kind of more of a quiet, soft-spoken guy where Peppers, you can cut the contract, as we just saw, easily, and he's a louder, more vocal guy. Like, we heard so much of Mike Vrabel trying to build this team, build this culture. Like, is that you don't want maybe that guy sitting on the bench and then maybe causing a distraction somewhere down the line. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But it is, the violence. Like, Vrabel was so complimentary of Peppers in the offseason, even yesterday when he was asked about it, right? Like he said, I have a lot of respect for him and how he plays. So it is the timing's interesting. I do wonder if they tried to trade him and they couldn't, but it was a interesting timing on that release and to move off of that player. But a lot of pressure now shifts to Jalen Hawkins, who was a rotational guy last year, and Craig Woodson. Not just the fact that they're going to be playing a lot of football on the back end, but like the communication. And we've heard since the draft, like how smart Craig Woodson is, great communicator, but a lot is going to fall on their plate on the back end. And those two are going to get tested there in this defense and in this new defensive scheme of sorts on that back end.
And Woodson, to me, is part of just a bigger theme I have now coming away from roster cuts. And look, one cut, it's not like all of a sudden this is in front of us because of one cut, but I think it really just opened my eyes to a bigger reality, which is this team can't afford another dud draft class. And I know that kind of sounds like a no dud take when they have 3 guys combined from the 22 and 24 classes on here. This is a little different. Obviously, they need another impact draft class, right? They need another draft class where they have multiple players that stick around, that are contributors over the long term. They need to get back to drafting at average even, and that would be at average. This is a little more than that. These guys need to hit right away for this Patriots team to get anywhere near that double-digit win total some people have thrown out, to get anywhere near the playoffs. We were used to, for years, they would ease in the rookies, right? A lot of rookies, maybe they'd start playing later on in the year, but not week 1. And there was always a plan B in place, and the rookies really had to earn their playing time. And I'm not saying that some of these guys didn't, but I see 6 rookies that right away are either going to be in starting or heavy rotational roles with no clear plan B, and 2 more guys who can join them relatively quickly. So just to go through it, Will Campbell's obvious. And look, he was the 4th overall pick. That guy, no matter what the team, no matter what the roster, whatever the circumstance, 4th overall pick, especially at a premium position, that guy should be contributing right away. So that one, he's their starting left tackle. He hasn't moved off that all summer. Travion Henderson may not be their starting back, quote unquote. Like, he may not get the first snap of the game every time. He's one of their only big play threats on offense. It's basically him, Pop Douglas, and maybe Diggs, in terms of that, like, can take any play for a touchdown and can do it on a semi-regular basis. He's going to be on the field on 3rd downs. He's going to be on the field in 2-minute. He's going to be on the field in a lot of crucial situations. The other running backs they have, I think Stevenson's better than people give him credit for, as long as he holds on to the football. Antonio Gibson had some nice moments last year, but those guys are not home run hitters. Those are not big play threats. It completely changes the dynamic if Travion Henderson does not work out. Jared Wilson, starting left guard. And that was sort of by default. Like, I think he had a good camp, fade a little bit at the end, but nobody else won that job. Cole Strange, Wes Schweitzer, Ben Brown. If he can't do it, Ben Brown's really the only other guy. Caden Wallace spent some time at guard, but I don't know how high the coaching staff is on him. And then you get into what if Garrett Bradbury can't play, like, struggles at center. They need Jared Wilson to be a guy. It gets really thin really quickly if Jared Wilson is not the answer at either left guard or center. Can work either way, but he's got to be the answer in one of those spots. Craig Woodson, we just talked about. He's your starting strong safety. The team's down on Kyle Duggar. Del Pettis is probably more of a special teams player. Had some nice moments last year, but again, another guy that I don't know how much this coaching staff plans on using. There's more depth behind Woodson than these other guys, but he's still going to be in a very significant role and expect to contribute. And then you have Andy Borgalis and Julian Ashby, the kicker and the long snapper. Those are kind of self-explanatory. And then the 2 guys that maybe not week 1, but can get into a major role really quickly. Kyle Williams, is just harder to tell where he's at because he missed those last 2 weeks after he got injured in the Josh Dobbs hospital ball in Minnesota. So it feels like their base 11 to start the season, it's going to be Pop and Diggs. right? And then either Kayshon Boutte or Mac Hollins at the X. Like some combination of those four is going to be on the field a lot. Like three of those four, and then the fourth guy's the next man up. But they're going to need Kyle Williams' speed and his ability after the catch. He will be playing meaningful, significant snaps for this team at some point. It just might not be week one, but there's more depth behind him. And then the other guy I put in this is Marcus Bryant. Ideally, Marcus Bryant doesn't play. He's your backup tackle. There were only 17 tackles in the NFL last year, Brian, who started all 17 games. There were only two teams that had both tackles start all 17 games. It was the Saints, and I did this morning. Who was the other one? The Saints and the Packers. So odds are Marcus Bryant's going to have to play. And he's definitely your top backup right tackle behind Morgan Moses. They still have Vidarian Lowe on the left side, but I also just wonder the way this coaching staff has handled the players they inherited, if Marcus Bryant gets the first shot there, if Will Campbell gets hurt. And maybe he has, a shorter window on that side with Vidarian Lowe sitting there, but he practices a swing tackle all summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the nod over Lowe if Campbell's going to miss time. So, I mean, that's six guys, again, that are right away in the fire, deep end, sink or swim, and two more who could join them like that. So if the rookie class doesn't show up as rookies, right? It's normally I'm saying, especially day 3 picks, give them some time. They're going to, some of these guys, year 2 is when they really start to show up and they're a little buried on the depth chart and they're developmental prospects or whatever. And by the way, I think that's true about some of the guys I just mentioned, but it doesn't matter. They have more than half of their rookie class simply has to show up this year for them to be, contending for a playoff spot football team.
Which is a tough spot to be in.
It's not ideal. It's not uncommon for a team that's overhauling their roster, but it's definitely not exactly where you want to be.
I think ideally, outside of like the number 4 overall pick and a guy like Travion Henderson, because, taking at those spots, they should be contributing early. But I think ideally you want your rookies to kind of come into a situation like Kyle Williams is in, where there's some veterans above him on the depth chart. He doesn't have to come in, as a 3rd round pick and make this huge contribution and be an every down player right away. But then maybe by mid-season, I wish they had like a mid-season bye, because you could be like, okay, after the week 8 bye, then, Kyle Williams is going to kind of start to break out because they get his speed on the field. He feels more comfortable. He's been through, 2 months of regular season game and game weeks and everything, and he can kind of break out and ease into the start of the season. And, with those Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins and those veterans above him. But you got to start when you're back-to-back 4-win teams. This is in your draft class last year is down to, what do we say, 3 players on the 53 or 2 players on the 53?
Three from the 22 and 24 draft classes combined. It's Marcus Jones, Drake May, and Caden Wallace.
Caden Wallace, who is a reserve guard. So you put these guys into these tough spots. And Vrabel even said on radio this morning, not only he wasn't talking about this draft, which we just said they need to be good, but they got to keep hitting on draft picks, and they couldn't, trade 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons, because he specifically said, we have to keep building the depth on this roster, and the best way to do that is through the draft. So they certainly need this class to step up, and then they need to keep hitting on draft picks. Best way to kind of get out of this fold and where they're at right now. But I want to talk about one of the draft picks they did hit on, who might not be available right away for us and staying in that secondary. But before we do that, I also want to hear from our friends over at Prize Picks. And Barth, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And it's simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. You can go to the whole NFL. Joe Burrow, more or less than 2.5 passing touchdowns. Josh Allen, more or less than 270 pass yards, or stay right here in New England with the Patriots. Drake May. We just talked about Travion Henderson, Stephon Diggs, and more. Throw those guys in your lineups. And guess what? Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If any one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss for you there. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup all over on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. And it is game week. So Barth and I, Thursday, we will have our first preview show of the year. And we will, of course, be picking our Patriots Prize Picks lineup there. Probably just
might be on Friday, by the way.
Might be on Friday.
I meant to text you. I'll talk to you off the air. Might be on Friday.
We'll keep you guys updated on that, of course, Thursday or Friday game preview. We'll be going right to the 6 times multiplier, I'm sure. And maxing that puppy.
You know how we do it here.
So make sure you guys stay true to that. But with that Raiders matchup, and again, we'll talk more in depth about it later in the week. They had their first practice on Monday. Bar's still no Christian Gonzalez. We haven't seen him in over a month now because July 28th was when he got hurt covering Stephon Diggs in training camp. That hamstring injury hasn't practiced since. We haven't seen him on Monday. Vrabel kind of left the door open that he's hoping to get him out there tomorrow. Whether that was just, coach radio speak this morning, we'll see tomorrow. But I'm worried about Christian Gonzalez at this point, but where are you at with him ahead of week 1?
So I had been saying I was lowercase w. I was going to be lowercase w worried until Wednesday. And Wednesday is when you really ramp up for game prep. And if he wasn't out there Wednesday, that's when I was going to be like, okay, yeah, it feels like he really might not play this week. On one hand, I'm standing by that take, but Mike Vrabel didn't sound super encouraged yesterday. Mike Reese on the Sports Hub earlier today made it sound like he doesn't, he kind of sounded pessimistic about about Christian Gonzalez playing. So I'm right there on capital W. I guess I'll jump ahead of my take a little bit just because the tea leaves seem to be shifting in that direction that he's not going to be out there Wednesday. And if he's not out there Wednesday, then it really starts to feel like maybe he's not available for the season opener.
Yeah. And I would say worried for the season opener. I don't think this could be something that, like you hope he would be back for Miami. Now, again, like Vrabel didn't say there was a setback, but he caught himself saying something before he kind of switched and went in a different direction with his answer the other day. So doesn't seem to be great at this point. I would not expect him to be out there for Vegas, but I also think they could survive without him for that week 1 game, because you look at the Raiders pass catchers, Brock Bowers leads the way, but then it's, Jacoby Myers, what's left of Amari Cooper after not participating in training camp, and then Dante Thornton, who's had a good summer, but he is, a mid-round rookie. Like, what are you going to get from him in his opening week? So I do think they could get by with Gonzo in week 1, but then week 2, like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, you want him healthy and you want him out there for that one, and not, playing and I'm going to tweak this hamstring again and then miss another month. Like, you want him healthy and fully ready to go for that one. That would be kind of the date I want him back at.
Yeah, and even so, I'd rather he miss 2 games than come back early, aggravate it, and miss 6, definitely. Right? Yeah. So you definitely want him for Miami, but I'd rather they be cautious and miss, the minimal number of games possible, even if they don't get him right away.
Yeah. Yeah, you want him back 100%. So he's not back and tweak something else, but we'll see with Gonzo. Again, back at practice. We're back at practice tomorrow. Patriots back at practice. We'll see if he is out there, but doesn't seem like it's positive for week 1 as of now. But he was the only one missing, so healthy outside of Gonzalez to start the regular season here. But all right, anything else? Just recent news, or should we break down some jerseys that dropped?
Let's do some jersey talk.
Nothing else. So we got the rival jerseys last week. We got this storm blue color. Are you a fan? It's not the Tar Heel blue that kind of got leaked, so I was glad it wasn't that and more of the storm blue. But are you a fan of these jerseys that dropped last week?
So the jerseys to me are fine. I think they're, I don't think they look as much like the Colts as people are making them out to be. I think they're more like the Titans, if anything. But they're okay. Like I like the shoulder stripes because it's not like the real. They're actually called Bruin stripes because even though everybody compares them to the Colts, it's a UCLA thing. They kind of taper in the back. That's cool. I like the font. I see what they're going for the 90s thing. And by the way, no, they weren't just going to give you the 90s Bledsoe Blues. Like, it's very clear looking around. And Nike did a terrible job with the majority of these. but they wanted something new. Just be glad. Like most teams just got an all black or all white jersey and they just called it there. Like very little creativity. The Patriots were one of the only teams that got like actual color, and the other one was the Jets, which is just atrocious. So the jerseys are fine. There's some things I like. There's some things I don't like. You know, the fact they're only wearing them once, I think it's a neat one-off look. If they were going to wear them, you know, regularly, I think I'd be a little more annoyed. They are a little cartoony. It just feels like City Connect to me. The helmet's sick. Like the helmet saves it. The white out helmet, white matte helmet, single color Patriots logo with the silver face mask. Big fan of that. The jersey itself, it's fine. It's okay. I really find it strong. And it's not I don't have takes about uniforms take because you guys know how I feel about that. This one is pretty meh to me. Like there's some things I like. I like the numbers. I like the way they styled the shoulder stripes. I don't like the stars around the neck. Like that feels like too much. The font on the back on the nameplate is a little weird. I don't like that. So it comes and goes.
The stars felt like they just wanted some red in there, and they're like, "Oh, We'll just put 6 red stars on there." I do wish there was a little more red.
See, the red should have been on the shoulder stripes.
Yeah, but it did seem like they wanted, you know, you mentioned most teams just got like white or black jerseys. It felt like they probably just wanted to keep it to a single color, but I do wish there was some more red in there. But I do like the numbers. You know, that's kind of like the Bledsoe italics with the drop shadow, as you mentioned. I like the storm blue is better than if they went with the Tar Heel blue. That was like some of the leaks going around. So I like that. Do you like this side shoulder patch that we're showing on the screen? This new one. It was like a nautical compass kind of theme. That's
one thing that, like, as a one-off, I think it's kind of neat. They've been trying to make some version of NE or NEP, like a letters logo, a thing for a few years now. Remember, there was that one, the Gerard Mayer, that kind of kept popping up everywhere. There's another one you've seen a few times this year. The give me Pat Patriot or give me Flying Elvis. Like those should be the logos of the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
they don't need a letter logo. Again, for this one-off thing, sure, fine, big, but like I wouldn't want it being a permanent thing.
Yeah, I agree. But I think they were, the fact that they got actual colors, I think they were one of the better jerseys that got released. Out of the 8. So I'm glad it's not just like one of the Bills whiteouts or you know, the Niners black one was cool just because, you know, Niners jerseys are always cool with their colors, but I do like they got some color. I like the Cardinals one, I think, the best, like the desert tan with like the paint specks. I think that was my favorite of the 8, but
I think the Niners one's the best. And that's another difference between this one and the rest of them too. I just want to point this out. Every other one is monochrome. If they had done blue pants with this, out so unbelievably far out. And definitely. So they got lucky there too.
Yeah. And the helmet.
I guess we got lucky there that Nike didn't screw it up.
We did. And the helmet is nice, the white helmet.
Yeah.
So that'll look good. What's that, week 11 against the Jets? I believe it's week 11.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Prime time.
Yeah, so Thursday night football.
Storm blue in the dark. That should hopefully look not bad. The Jets ones, though, I do not like. Those are ugly. That like weirdish green brown color. So we'll have to carry there. But those are the rival jerseys. So good stuff there. All right, we have some college football to end with in Bill Belichick, but also before we do that, if you want to go to any college football games, Barth, I was at BC this weekend checking out Billy O's squad this year, and I actually got gifted tickets, but I had some friends who went and didn't get gifted tickets. They weren't so lucky, so they used Game Time tickets to get their tickets, $5 to get into Alumni Stadium. Big one against Fordham, I know, but great deal over there on Game Time, and the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. If you're going down to Gillette on Sunday, I believe the weather is going to be very nice for Raiders at Patriots. Week 1, the start of the Mike Vrabel era, $195 is the cheapest on the Game Time app right now, or you can fire up a super deal, move right down under the lighthouse, about 10 rows up, $293 on the Game Time app. Great seats, great spot to watch a football game there. So make sure you guys take the guesswork out of buying all your football, college football, NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download the Game Time app today, and we'll see you guys at week 1, hopefully at Gillette there. So I hope no one, though, spent tickets or spent their money to go to that UNC game last night, because, oh boy, tough start for Bill Belichick in Chapel Hill down there. It was a good opening drive, and then it completely fell apart. What was even the final score? I stopped watching, I think after the
48-14, right?
48-14. I stopped watching after like the 75-yard touchdown to open the second half, but 500 total yards offense, 250 on the ground for TC. Like, that was a rough look for Bill Belichick in his defense last night.
Yeah, that was not good. And you mentioned the defense. I mean, just the sheer amount of missed tackles felt just wrong. And, I people are going to point to the talent gap. TCU doesn't have a ton of draftable players either. I don't think, TCU probably had more talent. I was very, very impressed with Josh Hoover. And this was my first time really watching him like that closely. Really natural thrower of the football. Had a really good feel for the pocket. Their running back, whose name I'm blanking on, I was impressed with him too, runs really hard. But, there's not, maybe Hoover ends up having some Jaden Daniels kind of rise. Like, he's kind of smaller and he's projected to be a later round pick at this point. They kind of looked unprepared. That kind of looked like a coaching thing. And the surprising
kind of looked like the last year of the Patriots a little bit.
Well, wild was the big thing with Bill always was, and this was something we saw compared to Mayo last year. Like, he's always in the huddle. He coaches the entire roster on and on. There's shots of him where they're huddled up during timeouts and he's off to the side. So, look, I think you got to give some credit to TCU. Everybody today, I think there's a lot of people who want to take their victory lap on Belichick. You have to give some credit to TCU, because they came out and they were disrespected going into that game. And they were good, and credit to Sonny Dykes who coached a good game. But after that first drive, UNC did not show up ready. Like, they did not look ready for that game. I have kind of this joke with my friends that, when one of us is hyping up a team and that team doesn't come out and doesn't play well, somebody will put in the chat, oh, so-and-so didn't come to tackle. And UNC did not come to tackle last night. UNC, outside of that first drive, and I tweeted it after the first drive, Bill went out and he hit the transfer portal hard, 9th-ranked transfer class in the country, according to 24/7, and that line was moving. That line was moving bodies on the first drive, and they were. What happened? We saw they could do it. TCU just dug in. So, it's going to be tough to bounce back from that. From a big picture, are you going to be a college football competitor standpoint? They're going to have to beat Clemson, which they look far away from at this point. They're going to have to beat Clemson in 3 weeks. They probably can't lose another game. Does Bill go to the Pop-Tart Bowl? Does he go to the Mayo Bowl? Maybe. Their schedule's pretty easy. There's going to be some wins there.
We need the Bill Belichick getting the Mayo bath this year.
Have to have it. But
that would be awesome.
There's a couple more wins in that schedule there that they can probably back into. But and the other thing, I'll just say this too, as I'm kind of rolling through my thoughts from that game. Why didn't Bill start Max Johnson? Like, I don't really know what their camp was like. And I guess their camp was pretty close to the media. There's a lot less obligations that you have at the college level than the NFL puts on their individual teams. Gio Lopez is like a fun player. And I remember watching him a little bit last year. I want to say South Alabama, and he does some exciting things, but he's a group of 5 quarterback. Like, he's not a guy versus Max Johnson, who was in the SEC and has 30 SEC starts under his belt and just profiles more as a Bill Belichick quarterback. Much more low risk, take a profit, nickel and dime your way down the field, stand in there, deliver the throw. Gio Lopez is going to improvise more, and that comes with highs and lows. I really don't get why he didn't start Max Johnson. Again, I wasn't there covering their camp. I don't know. I figured initially it was because Max Johnson, for those who don't know, Max Johnson suffered a really, really horrific leg injury in the opener last year, almost had to have his leg amputated. Yeah. So I figured he wasn't good, but like he wasn't good to go. He wasn't available. But he comes in at the end there and happy for him that he got to throw that touchdown to his brother, makes his way back on the football field. Like, awesome story on what was otherwise a very rough night for that program. But if I'm Bill, I'm starting Max Johnson next week. I've seen enough from Gio Lopez. I'm starting Max Johnson next week.
I thought maybe they'd use like Lopez's like running ability more, but they didn't even do that. So yeah,
right. They ran the typical Bill Belichick under center drop back offense, which Max Johnson is. That's why Max Johnson was kind of available, because he's not an NFL prospect, and
I thought
he's not thought of that highly.
Yeah, I thought it was Saban on the pregame show was like they were running the clips of Gio Lopez, in his power run game and, all these quarterback keepers. And I'm like, oh, he must know, they have this quarterback run game they're going to pull out, but they just didn't use that at all. Like it looked like a Bill Belichick offense, like coming out under center, getting downhill, hitting some play action passes. And then they just couldn't, what was it, like 2 hours without a completed pass to their own team or something?
2 hours of real time. Yeah. And the one that was caught was like an unbelievable catch. Yeah. And then I think he threw a pick on the next throw, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the defense was still the more shocking part to me. Like 542 total yards of offense, 258 rushing yards. Like, and watching Matt Patricia, a couple days before, and I know Ohio State is way more talented than North Carolina's team, but watching what Matt Patricia, was kind of able to do in that game, I thought, okay, we'd be seeing some pretty advanced stuff for the college game from Bill Belichick, and you just didn't see that at all. And they couldn't tackle, and they got run all over. Like 258 yards on the ground is just insane against the Bill Belichick defense.
And look, Steve did some stuff at Washington that was a little more complex. So it's in the bag. Again, they looked unprepared. They just looked unprepared.
Definitely. So we'll see. He'll definitely string some wins together. Like, what do they have? Charlotte next week and Richmond. So the schedule outside of Clemson, the schedule eases up for them. So they shouldn't be that bad every week moving forward, but we'll see what happens with Bill. But anything else to mention? Patricia, Ohio State, anything else from week 1 of college football catch your eye you want to talk about?
I think that's it for me. Oh, for college football, not just on Bill. Yeah. Get Kalen DeBoer the hell out of Tuscaloosa.
Facts.
Just, you want to talk about a team that didn't look prepared and didn't come to tackle. That was, and I don't think this Florida State team's that good. I don't think Tommy Castellanos is that good. Credit to him, he had a great game. I don't think he can do it for 14 weeks. Alabama should have been able to get to him, and they didn't. So that was brutal.
That was
Ohio State
with Bama really quick. Just them getting out physical was insane to watch. Like them getting blown off the ball by Florida State was just like, that was not the Bama we grew up.
I tried to explain this to people, and I don't know how much there's kind of it doesn't translate a ton. What Kalen DeBoer is doing at Alabama, relatively speaking, is kind of on par with the Gerard Mayer experience in New England. Now, you'll say he got a second year, they're ranked, they were in a bowl game last year. Like, Alabama realistically can only fall so far because they are Alabama. They're in the SEC. There were enough Saban holdovers, but for comparison, Nick Saban lost to unranked teams 4 times. And what was it, 16, 17 years? He had 4 losses to unranked teams. I think 2 of them were his first year. Kalen DeBoer's already lost to 4 unranked teams. 1 game into his second season. And players are leaving in the transfer portal. I wonder if Ryan Williams is next. Like, the star power is just not there like it was. They don't really have the talent that they had under Saban. He's not showing up as a recruiter. And to get out physical like that, the comparison is, it's unrecognizable. Like this Alabama team is a shell of what they were. And again, the other thing is, it's not supposed to happen as quickly in college football as it does in the NFL. And it did. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with DeBoer moving forward. He's $70 million buyout. He's going to be there for the rest of the year. But that Alabama might be unranked in a week or 2. Now, they play Louisiana this week. They should win that game, but There was not a lot there that was like Ty Simpson made some really odd reads. He had that one key third down that was wide open and he throws it away. He could have run for it. Getting out physical at the line of scrimmage, some uncharacteristic penalties. Players didn't seem too broken up about the loss either. Like there's that mentality thing that Saban brought. So kind of tangential take off of that. So Kalen DeBoer is struggling at Alabama. Ryan Grubb got fired by the Seahawks, is now at Alabama. The offense doesn't look good. Rome Odunze struggling in the NFL. Jalen Polk struggling in the NFL. Jalen McMillan's been fine. Is Michael Penix like just the man?
Did he just carry them?
Every day we get more and more evidence that Michael Penix was the 2023 Washington Huskies.
Washington offense.
Like,
might have been.
Credit to him. Some other college football takes. Ohio State, man, like I don't like to pick teams to repeat as a rule of thumb, but they still got some real talent on that team. Caleb Downs is the real deal. I hope you guys watched him. I told you to watch him. I hope you guys watched him. Who's that the linebacker they had? Arvell, I'm blanking on his last name. Number 8. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I have the Ross.
Arvell Reese.
Reese, yep.
He looks really good. He looks like that next guy up as the Ohio State pass rusher. Davison Igbinoza looked improved. Jeremiah Smith took a step back, but you saw Carnell Tate come up big. I think CJ Donaldson's a great fit there. Julian Sang got his feet under him a little bit late in that game. By the way, a guy Alabama let out the door. Ohio State looked really good. I'm not totally ready to take my victory lap on Arch yet, but I think people maybe saw the reason that I wasn't as high on him as some other people. You saw it there in that game. What were my other takes from some of the other games?
Matty P. Anything on Matty P? I mean,
Matty P was great. And people have wondered for a while, what if you bring some of this more complex NFL stuff to college? And I don't think just anybody can do it, but you look at it and it rattles these quarterbacks. It really does. So credit to Matt Patricia. We'll see if he can keep it up. It was week 1. Yeah, teams are going to have more time to study for it now. But
I do wonder if that's like it just gets on film and then in 2 or 3 weeks, like, okay, we can just pick up a simulated pressure. Like we can do this pretty easy.
I think it will help a little bit, but they still have to do it. And it's still not easy to do. Now, it's going to help. I was having this conversation with somebody. The trickle-down effect, if more teams go this route, and this works for Ohio State, we're going to bring in NFL coaches to coordinate our defense. Because right now, let's be clear about something. The best offensive minds in the sport are not in the NFL. They are in college. There are some good offensive minds in the NFL, and I'm not saying it's 100%. But most of the high-end offensive brain power in football, Brian, feel free to disagree, but I think it's at the college level. And would you agree with that?
Yeah. They always say, stuff trickles upwards, right? Like high school to college to NFL.
But defensively, it's inverse because the defensive coaches want to work with older players who can understand more and handle more. And it's a lot harder when you have to do the defensive and you're on the reacting side of it. If you start getting these defensive minds coming to college and installing a lot of this stuff, and this becomes more regular in the college game, that would be one of the best things to happen to the NFL in a long time, because you're going to start getting rookie quarterbacks and rookie players across the board, but especially quarterbacks who are more pro ready. And there's going to be a lot less bust potential on a lot of these guys because it's going to be less of a projection. It's going to be more apples to apples, what you're seeing in college versus what they're going to be asked to do in the pros. So it might not be a good thing for college football because the scoring is going to come down a little bit. And that's part of the reason I think college is more popular at times, because it's a more fast-paced, higher scoring product, which we didn't see this weekend. But it would be, if the NFL could get more college teams running defenses like this, it would be, and the defensive players are going to come in more prepared. It would just be huge for the NFL if that could happen.
Unless Bill Belichick is running the defense, I
guess. How much of that stuff did he didn't do a lot of that stuff. That's the thing.
Yeah. I know.
It looked kind of basic. I wish he'd done more of that.
Very basic. Yeah.
Some other observations. I say it every year, so this doesn't really mean much coming from me. I'm ready to call Clemson fraudulent, relatively speaking. They're still going to make the playoffs because the ACC sucks. But I was not impressed with Cade Klubnik. It was nice to watch LSU without forcing myself to fixate on the left tackle position every snap and just actually watch the game. LSU's left tackle, by the way, had an up and down game because I still found myself doing that a little bit out of habit. Harold Perkins, dog. Whit Weeks, dog. Bring me an LSU linebacker. I don't really care which one. They do different things. Perkins, I don't want to compare him to Micah Parsons, but like that thing where he can rush up the middle, he can rush off the edge, he can cover, like he can just do everything. And to see him have the game he had coming off a torn ACL is just happy for the kid. He's going to be a stud. Whit Weeks is Robert Spillane, maybe like better, but that kind of just, he's everywhere all the time, constantly at the football, super high motor, violent player. I would love to see him be a Patriot. His brother's pretty good too, Wes, I think. But Whit Weeks, I think, is more upside. And I really like the way he approaches the sport. So those are some observations for that game. Nick Harbor, I think you got the full Nick Harbor experience. Really bad drop. Really awesome deep touchdown. Should have had 2. I think that was a catch. The one on the near pylon also made a great play as a gunner. So still a lot of football to be played. Not stamping Nick Harbor a round 1 pick yet, but I think there was more good than bad. There was some bad, but there was more good than bad in that. Maryland's freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, kind of nice. Wasn't expecting that.
Yep.
I mean, it was against FAU, and they play, I think, Northern Illinois this week, but we'll see there. I think that was Cal's got
Miami.
Notre Dame, Miami. What a catch. What a catch by CJ. I mean, I think it's better than the Odell catch, personally, considering the rain and everything. And look, 10 years ago, the safety's taking his head off. But, and I was watching with my friend who's not a big X's and O's guy. Like, he just kind of watches football and he doesn't maybe know how the sausage is made. And I'm looking at, all right, there's like 10 seconds left. I think they had no timeouts. You got to get the ball to the end zone. He's got one-on-one on the backside. I think it was press. And the safety comes down. And I'm like, go up sideline. And instead he goes the other way, off the back foot, like under pressure, throws in triple coverage. Before the ball even gets there, I go, horrible throw. Obviously, Daniels makes that catch, touchdown. My buddy looks at me and goes, I thought you knew football. And I'm like, I don't feel like explaining this all to you right now, but yeah, it was a bad throw, but sure. Unbelievable catch.
Sometimes it just works out.
Good comment in the chat. Ruben Bain, that was another guy on my watch list. He had a dominant game in that one.
This is funny with Notre Dame. Elite game plan to not give Jeremiah Love the ball. That was weird. That they
especially in the rain. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on there. I was expecting to see more of him. Again, making me look bad. Like, my buddy comes over. Who should I be watching? Well, Notre Dame's running back is like sick. Well, at halftime, that guy's not doing anything. What are you talking about? So Marcus Free, both sides kind of screwed me there. But I think that was most of my observations. I mentioned Cal's quarterback. He was kind of frisky and fun. I will learn how to pronounce his name, but I'm not there yet. What else did I have? Boise State. That one did not surprise me. And I was bummed Hawaii. I was bummed Hawaii and what's his name? Alejado. I forget his first name, but awesome week 0 game against Stanford. Sprains his ankle, comes back playing on one leg, leads a comeback. I wanted to see him kind of continue on that, and just got his doors blown off by Arizona. Oh, Jordan Tyson, dominant game. It was against Arizona State, but just about everybody on my watch list, I feel like, had a good game. Even Thaddeus Dixon didn't have a bad game because they kept throwing at that other corner who was just horrible. I think they said they completed 9 attempts against him and he missed like 7 tackles or something. I would have kept picking on him too. But the rest of the watch list did pretty good if you read it. And a lot of ball left. Again, I'm not saying that, Nick Harbor is a first-round pick yet, but encouraging week for a lot of those guys.
Yeah, it was a great week. A lot of good games. I like how they kind of loaded up the schedule for week 1 there. So I don't think I was looking ahead to next week. Doesn't look like any big ranked games.
Michigan, Oklahoma is the big game, but I think Oklahoma might be fraudulent. It's a good test for John Mater, right? It's Mater, I think.
I think so, yeah.
How real is he up against his Michigan defense? Also, here's another one. Bryce Underwood looked like a true freshman is not supposed to look like that.
Yeah, he looked good.
And, but that was against, I think it was New Mexico State, whatever it was. So we'll see how he does against a little bit of a more real defense in Oklahoma, but not much. Yeah, not much. There's a 49-point spread on the board this week in an FBS game. Texas Tech's a 48.5-point favorite over Kent State, who admittedly barely beat Merrimack.
Hell yeah.
Did you see who's calling that game, by the way?
The Merrimack game?
Merrimack, Kent State.
No. Who?
Patriots legend Gerard Cherry.
Oh, there we go.
Are you old enough to remember Gerard Cherry?
I know the name. I don't think I ever
He
saw
didn't.
him.
He didn't play here a ton. He does have a Super Bowl ring though.
Yeah. What was his last year here?
Was it 02, 03? I gotta find it. It was
Brian.
04. He played 12 games in 04. He was here 01 to 04. So he has 3 rings.
Yeah. Damn, good for him. He's got all 3. How about that? Just got to flex those on the broadcast. But all right, there's your week 1 college football recap. Always like to throw as many names as possible out as you guys for that one. So we'll always squeak in some college football here, but we'll wrap it up here. So make sure you guys are locked on Patriots Press Pass. Like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you guys know when we're going live. You can also subscribe Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form as well there. We'll be back Thursday, Friday. Again, we'll let you guys know for our week 1 game preview with the Las Vegas Raiders coming to town. So make sure you guys tune into that. And you can also follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his Patriots coverage there. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com for our Patriots coverage online there as well. So thanks everyone for jumping on with us tonight, and we will see you guys later this week.